everyone. Welcome to Talking Tech with Creatives podcast, a podcast diving deep into the intersection of technology and creativity. I'm Stella One. Join me as renowned experts from different industries share their innovative journeys, great tips, and insights. As an author with a passion for crime, food, culture, and tech, I've always believed in the transformative power of technology, especially for emerging economies in Africa. Yetunde Asika, our guest, is the COO of the African Leadership Council and co-chair of Bandung Africa. Her vast experience spans law, strategic planning, and advocacy. With a career dedicated to advancing democracy and equality, Yetunde brings a wealth of knowledge from her time on U40Y advisory panel, her legal practice, and her passionate work in international human rights. Discover her inspirational journey and insight into empowering communities and fostering leadership in our exclusive interview. I have a quote from Yetunde that I found on Amazon's Watch magazine. She says, "You have to have a lot to bring to the table, and you can only get that by loving what you do." So I'm quite excited to know more about you, Yetunde. Tell us more about yourself and what you do.
Okay, well, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Yetunde Asika, and I wear quite a few hats. I am first a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a social justice activist, I'm a legal professional, and like you said already, I am COO of the African Leadership Council. I also chair a climate change foundation and a few other foundations. My big love really is philanthropy. I hold a strong belief in Commonwealth public value, and I've been described as a non-partisan social activist for justice and equality. I'm also an Afrocentric Pan-African who inspires others to create wealth and strive for greatness. My
Fantastic.
journey is very long.
So, tell us more. I want to tease a little bit from what you do because not all of us have that kind of legal background. So when you talk about, like the human rights and that aspect of your work, can you just tell us a little bit more about it and how you work in communities?
Um, Sorry, repeat the question again. You say how I work with
So,
communities.
I'm just talking about community. So with your work as in social justice, can you tell us just a little bit more about it?
Okay. Well, we don't really work generally with communities. We do a lot of global work. So, for example, I'm also vice president of the National Board of the Society of Black Lawyers, and we form a coalition with Bandung Africa and some other organizations globally, like Society of Black Lawyers, Congressional Black Caucuses, the National Bar Association, and then with some big personalities and individuals like Al Sharpton or the big human rights lawyer Benjamin Crump, and then also members of MPs in England and government in the US. And what we do with social justice is we do big cases, anything that's big. So for social justice work, I don't really work with communities. We try and deal with things like NSARS, George Floyd campaign, what was happening in Morocco, Gaza, the Russian war. So that's the kind of social justice work that I do.
Okay, so because I know you do a bit of traveling as well with it. So have you got a kind of like, I know those kind of work are confidential, but have you got a kind of example of the kind of social justice you would have done? I know you mentioned George Floyd. Is there any other one that's, yeah?
Yes, that's a big one. We also do stuff with the Mau Mau community, which is the Kenyan community, the Tea community, the land rights issues, social justice issues in Kenya. NSARS, as I said again, was a big one. Gaza, we do petitions to the United Nations for the during the Ukraine war and what was happening in Morocco. A lot of Black people, Nigerians, people of African descent were, stuck and had problems. We did a lot of social
Mm-hmm.
justice around there. So those are specific examples that we've sort of
Mm.
petitioned the UN. We're most successful with George Floyd. Our petition was what President Biden used
Mm-hmm.
as his 12-point agenda that he signed, police reform
Mm.
agenda that he signed in 2022, May of
Mm-hmm.
2022.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, just tell us, well, give us a bit of background about yourself. Like, I mean, like, what started you off? Who were your influences? Like I know from your parents and how you got into law.
Um, okay, my parents had everything to do with it, really. My father always made us believe that we were the greatest and we could do anything we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I think his absolute faith in his children was all
Yes.
the encouragement that we needed to
Yes.
pursue whatever it was that we wanted to do and also to do it well. Just because we believed that we could, then we often did. And that's what happens with children. Um, my parents encouraged us to follow our passions, whatever it was we wanted to do, we were allowed to do it. Now, in terms of the law, um, I think I was always born with a natural flair for the law. So now, in terms of the law, I think I was always born with a natural flair for it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to do with the law always just came naturally to me. Um, I was always deeply interested in jurisprudence, and I had a commitment to do what was right,
Mm.
to human rights and justice, and a love for dismantling systemic barriers.
Mm.
Now, in terms of my influences, I would say that anybody who had the guts, who dared to challenge the status quo,
Yes.
um, they were the ones that influenced me. So to speak, I drew influence from uh, the the people who had grit and determination. They sort of lit the torch that fueled my journey. We know about the usual greats. I
Mm-hmm.
admired anyone who stood up for justice. Um, but then there were the not so obvious people of our time. Like I really admire people like Dave Chappelle or Cat
Mm-hmm.
Williams. I think that they're brilliant. They
Mm.
really, yeah, it's really interesting if you listen
Mm.
to what they have to say. I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
think that they're brilliant people. So those are the people that kind of influenced my journey, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like a lot of people, actually, I've got so many questions, but I still want to tease something out because a lot of people kind of like, stay local, especially when it comes to law. Maybe they will practice within their kind of like community or within their uh, country and everything. What made you decide to go to have that kind of like overview and the global um span of your work? What made you decide to actually go that the way you've gone, as opposed to just practicing within your country?
Well, I kind of started my career in the UK. So I went to
Hmm.
school in the UK and I began my career in the UK. So
Yeah.
that really introduced me to the world of law,
Hmm.
from that side of the pond. And then I worked for the United Nations um,
Hmm.
and for the tribunal, so for the International Criminal Tribunal Rwanda. So
Hmm.
I worked with that, and that also allowed me to travel and to see more social justice, human rights on a global
Hmm.
scale. That's an
Hmm.
international forum and an international stage.
Hmm.
And then because of my work I did with the Society of Black Lawyers, I got the
Hmm.
opportunity while I was really young to travel to the States to join them for those conferences and make those connections and meet those
Hmm.
people and really understand how the law works on that side of the world, on that side of the world. So and build relationships there. And that's
Hmm.
how I really that's where my international sort of global love for justice stemmed
Yeah.
from, and that's how I got into it.
Yeah, because it's quite, I mean, like, I really like that because it's quite unusual. I haven't met many people like you. So, so I wanted to ask, what kind of, as an advocate for human rights and justice, what kind of changes do you want to see? I know that that is huge, but just narrow it down to one or two. something you'd like to actually see, happen?
What kind of changes do I want to see happen? What kind of changes do I want to see? So picture this, a world where human rights are not just respected, but are celebrated universally. I would love to experience a world where everyone, especially women, can unleash their full potential and flourish. We need to create inclusive spaces and provide equal opportunities for everybody. That's the kind of world I'd like to live
Yeah, I love that world, seriously. And so actually, that actually leads to my next question. How do we empower more women to achieve the best of themselves? Because women have different challenges out there. I can't even name, there's so many out there. So what do we do to get them to be empowered?
in. The best ways to empower women is to create spaces that are not just inclusive on paper, but also in practice. Mentorship is always a good empowerment tool for shattering those glass ceilings. So I would say the secret sauce for empowering women is mentorship. We also need to remember that empowering women is not just a solo act, it's something that everybody needs to play their part, both men and women equally.
Mm, mm. And also, I said women in general. Now I'm going to narrow it down to Black women, because Black women face a specific challenge, specific challenges. So what do you say for Black women? What do we do as Black women?
If you're saying Black women globally, because
Yeah,
there's Black women in
globally.
Africa and there's Black women abroad. Black women globally, it's the same thing. We just need to be more intentional about. I think everybody realizes and knows that um, women's input in society and decision making is vital. I think at this stage, that's not even the argument anymore. It's not whether women should be on the table or should be allowed on the table or what value do they bring. We already agree, I think, universally that women need to be at the table. So
Yeah.
it's about just being intentional about doing it purposefully and actually making a practice.
Hmm.
It's, and I said, it's not just a solo act. It's not just for women alone to be the ones to push themselves and to get themselves there. It's for everybody to play a part in it and take part in making sure that women have a seat at the table and just be intentional about it. If you have a board where it's full of men, then there's something wrong. You need to look at your
Yep.
board and
Hmm.
say that, hang on a second, why are there no women here? What have I
Hmm.
missed? Because
Hmm.
sometimes, people don't realize, but when you are intentional and you know that women add value, so much value, then you will look at yourself and want the best for your organization. And whether
Hmm.
it's a law firm or any industry, when you look around yourself and you don't see enough women at the table, then you have to reevaluate and wonder why, and then go back to the drawing board and make sure you get
Hmm.
them in.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and it's putting these things into practice. It's not just saying it, is it? So, so with your background in law, I'm going into AI now because AI comes up a lot in so many things. How do you see AI impacting the legal landscape, especially in Africa? How do you see it?
For me, artificial intelligence in law is akin to a legal assistant with a PhD in efficiency. That's the best way I can describe it.
Hmm.
So imagine streamlined legal research, allowing lawyers to delve deeper into case law and precedents more efficiently, and therefore enhancing decision making. I mean, we actually are witnessing the emergence of a new legal frontier right before our eyes.
Mm.
And to bring it home to Africa, where access to legal services can be a bit of a challenge, AI
Hmm.
can be a transformative force. It really can. It acts as a formidable equalizer with the potential to democratize legal information, making it more accessible to the general public.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll just say this last bit. Technology has already transformed the way lawyers work and how people
Hmm.
access justice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the global north, for example, they're already doing that. People attend court by Zoom. They deal with
Called by
traffic.
Zoom. Wow.
Oh, yes, and they deal with traffic offenses using sort of like
Mm-hmm.
a ticket system. So this is like the difference between Dropbox when you're applying for an American visa, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
having to attend personally for an interview.
Yeah.
So already seeing it there, it's just about adopting it everywhere. And you know, we
Mm-hmm.
all use Zoom, even it may not seem like that for me today. We all, know how to use Zoom, but the issue is about getting access to this technology.
Technology. Yeah. So that actually goes to my next question, which is how can African countries leverage artificial intelligence and legal tech to address systemic legal challenges and promote access to justice? Because this is what we're talking about now. We're talking about this access, this equality. It's not equal for everyone.
Um, you're right. Okay, so tech is a game changer under any circumstances. It is transformative. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine a tech-driven Africa where education, healthcare, commerce, and the law at everyone's fingertips. We will be a formidable force, a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
If we take advantage of technology and we do it right, the world can't hold us back.
Yeah.
See what we've done with fintechs and startups and our
Yeah.
creative economy, for example. So anyway, back to your question, African countries can harness this transformative potential of AI by starting with an intention integration of AI into legal education,
Mm-hmm.
um, empowering the next generation with digital
Yes.
literacy
Mm-hmm.
fundamental. And
Mm-hmm.
this includes training legal professionals in AI applications and creating policies that facilitate the responsible adoption of
Mm-hmm.
AI in legal systems and legal
Yeah.
processes. So, in terms of legal tech, countries will need to adopt a collaborative ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
where governments, legal practitioners, tech innovators, and policymakers, they work hand in hand to unlock AI's potential
Mm-hmm.
in addressing systemic legal challenges faced by Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this will ultimately promote greater access to justice and make it
Yeah.
more accessible. It's a
Yeah.
journey, but the destination is so worth the effort.
It's a journey. It is, and we let me see. I'm just trying to because I think you've answered some of the questions, yeah. I was just kind of like looking at maybe the challenges because we've talked about how this, that it should happen. But do you think it will happen? Because, there's already, if I talk about, say, the West, for example, I'm based in the UK, I'm in technology. I know the advances and I know the discussions, I know the kind of like dialogues that are going on around artificial intelligence in the West. And I don't know, do you think the same thing is happening in Africa? Do you think that those dialogues are taking place, those discussions, to make things happen or not?
Definitely the dialogue is taking place. We just concluded the Omniverse Summit um, last week.
Which summit is that?
The Omniverse Summit.
Oh,
It
Omniverse. Yes, I heard about that. Yeah.
exactly a week ago yesterday. And
Yes.
so I know for sure I had a panel there where we had discussion
Mm-hmm.
of AI and the law, AI and the legal system, AI and legal tech. And the conversation centered around regulation and standardization. So there is conversation, and we have legal tech in Nigeria. We have
Mm-hmm.
platforms where in fact, a new one just came up yesterday. I can't remember the name, but there are. So, and there are conversations. There have to be serious conversations about it because there's so many challenges and risks
Mm-hmm.
of biases and risks of biases more than anything else, and risk of people not getting fair trial or there's so many challenges around AI and the law
Mm-hmm.
and there are conversations. So, answer your question, that there are conversations that are going on about it. It's something that we not hit the nail on the head yet. We need to have a lot. AI and technology is moving at such a fast pace. It's actually humanly impossible to keep up with that pace. So we just have to do our best to keep having these conversations and addressing these issues, these challenges. But these conversations are happening here on the continent, they're happening here in Nigeria, but we need to have more of them and take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, I'm just so if you're doing the kind of blue sky thinking here. So if you were president, what kind of changes would you like to advocate in Nigeria and Africa as a whole? I'm taking it away from AI now.
Okay. Well, that's a thought-provoking question, but it's an easy one nevertheless. I I would first focus on, I think, education reform and keep technology at the forefront of that reform. We need to equip our youth and our children with the skills to be able to compete globally. So education reform would be the first thing. Obviously, gender equality is always my thing. So that would I'll be more intentional, more focused on that. I will also, if I was president, education reform, gender equality. I'll be more intentional about sort of the conversation around how we see ourselves. So making sure the youth at the moment, especially the creative economy, not just the youth, the economy in general, already doing a really good job about our narrative, pushing our narrative, showcasing what we have. I will do so more internally for us here, for people who do not see themselves or don't see us Nigerians as anything, which a lot of us do feel that way. So I'll make sure I push that narrative, let people know who we are, who our culture is, let us understand our history and understand the greatness within us, because there is. And a lot of people don't know it, we've forgotten it. So as president, that would be very important to me. And lastly, perhaps I'll have a blockchain coin backed by gold, a Pan-African blockchain backed by gold. I don't know if that's going to work. But also,
immutable. That's why.
Open all borders, try and open all borders within Africa, be inclusive. That would be my agenda.
Yetunde for president.
Oh,
I'm all for you. So now you recently received a chieftaincy title from Olu. I'm Yoruba, but I might pronounce this wrong. Olu of Orile Ilawo in Ogun State.
Yes.
Oba Olusegun McGregor. What is your title and how do you hope to use your influence as a chief in grassroots communities?
Okay. Well, my title is Otun Yaludi, which
you need to repeat it again because we didn't hear.
Otun Yaludi.
Otun Yalode.
Yeah. And this means this is also translated to Oba Obiri, which means King of Women.
King of Women.
It's a very, very high chieftaincy title. It's the most high female chieftaincy title in Yoruba land. Allows people there making decisions with the Council of Chiefs. So it's usually given to women who have strong political and social, economic power and access, because you're supposed to use that for the women, benefit of the women, to represent the women and the children in any kingdom. So that's what the title is. And did you have a follow-up question? I can't remember.
So how are you going to use your influence as a chief in grassroots communities?
Okay, so I ensure that the voices of women resonates in the highest echelons of leadership. So, and for me, the trifecta is education, health, and empowerment of women. I think when you have those things, when women are empowered in that way, children are automatically empowered.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that's what I've been doing. That's what I do anyway. So the title kind of fits the personality. And we do empowerment programs and initiatives focused on women. One called Women Trade Connect that's going on in Ilao at the moment currently.
Okay.
And it's about teaching women and helping women forge connections and how to be collaborative in growing their business, because that's the best way to grow their business. It's
Yeah.
funny, but you may not realize or make the connection that, okay, the woman who makes Adware should know the woman in the market who sells it, should know the woman in the market, and the tailor who sews the clothes, making that synergy and connection and making
Yes.
the network, a flow between women, and making us understand that it's with the collaboration that we do better. We grow better, economically we do better.
Yeah.
And to recognize that and use that tool as a force to grow our businesses.
Fantastic. So we're kind of winding down now, and it's been a fantastic interview. I've really enjoyed it, especially as I'm advocating for you to be president now. So, I am absolutely. How do you balance your various commitments and family life? Because I know how busy you are. It took a long time for us to get to this interview.
Eternal question, the juggling act of balance. Well, it's about just prioritizing what works for you. So for me, balance doesn't even mean equal. It means balance, So for me, what I prioritize is I prioritize my family, my daughter, my family life. That's what is priority for me. And I prioritize that above everything else. But it's sometimes okay to prioritize work. Like you just said, over the last couple of months, I've just been, I've had so much to do. And it's okay to prioritize that at that point as well.
That's good.
Having self-care, delegating, and just being easy on yourself, not doing things because you feel that's what other people want you to do or what they would say. That is a sure recipe for failure.
Preach it. Yeah, I understand. And I like the idea
balance
of
is all about finding what
that. Yes. I love what you said there, because sometimes women feel guilty about, I'm not putting family first, or I'm putting work first, or that balancing out. But what you're saying is that whatever is priority at that time is what you use to achieve balance. So no need for you to feel guilty or anything. Just sit down and examine what you're doing and see how you balance those. Fantastic. Great answer. Now for my last question. What is your hobby? What gives you joy?
I have a deep love for travel. That's what gives me experiencing other cultures, other languages. It's what makes me happy. It's sort of where I find my resting place, where I find peace, where I can rejuvenate my body and my soul. Traveling, and I usually travel to places that give me that. So,
Fantastic.
for example, I wouldn't say traveling to London would do that for me, for example.
London.
But some parts of the UK, yes.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So travel for me is the hobby that I enjoy most. Yeah.
Okay. So before you go, what are some of your favorite destinations? I know you've mentioned parts of the UK, in Africa, by the way.
Okay, in Africa, that's easy. In Africa, I love East Africa. I love Tanzania. I love Nairobi, Mombasa. I love Kenya. Specifically in Tanzania, I love Zanzibar. And specifically in Kenya, I love Mombasa. I love Cape Town, South Africa. And then I wouldn't say I have visited a lot of places on the West Coast in terms of leisure. So I hear that Benin is just beautiful. I can't wait to get there. Within Nigeria that I absolutely love. I mean, we have the best waterfalls. We have the best landscapes.
We do.
So in Nigeria as well is I love that. And then I love Southeast Asia as well.
Yeah.
There's just globally there are many. I mean, that's the hardest question
Incredible.
today.
Incredible. The incredible spaces. I mean, I've not even never been to Saudi Arabia, but I started getting interested in travel. I've always loved food. I actually write about Nigerian food. I'm very passionate about that. So
Right.
I went to this thing and as Saudi Arabia is trying to open up. And there's a place called Alula, full of heritage. And, they want to open it. And I was thinking about Nigeria. I said, there's so many heritage places in Nigeria that could open up like this. I mean, the
Yeah.
ideas were just coming. And I said, one day, because there's some beautiful spots. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. I
thank
feel that
you.
one day will open that up. That side of our country, our culture, our tourism will open up immensely as a source of, and as an economic source for the country, but just as for us who are from here to enjoy and to love life and, spend our own money in our country instead of traveling. I'd rather do
That's it.
that,
Yeah.
but we have to put the infrastructure in place that we're able to do that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And we have young people like Tayo Aino and Wudemaya that are
Yep.
showcasing Africa on YouTube. So if you haven't heard of them, go and see Tayo Aino, Aina, and Wudemaya. So, yesterday, thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate it. We had some technical issues, but we did it. We did it. So, thank you very much. Thank you.
I enjoyed
Thank you.